Hi, it's Penny here, and in this video I wanted to go through my 2023 reading goals so we can see how I did and maybe think about whether we need to make some adjustments to my 2024 reading goals before I put that video up, probably in another couple of days. So firstly, my first goal is always about the number of books I want to read, the number that I set my Goodreads reading challenge at. Normally I just set it at 100 books, and I usually have kind of a secret goal to actually read 150 books. Basically 100 books should be totally achievable for me. That's one physical book and one audiobook every week. I can usually squish in somewhere along the way some extras, some small books, maybe some graphic novels. So usually 150 is more of a realistic number for me, and that's what I'm actually aiming for. But if I read 100 books, I'm happy. So 100 books is the goal, 150 is the stretch goal. I really think if I go too much above it, like one year I think I read 200 and something, and that's too much. Like if I'm reading 200 and something books, I'm probably ruining my life, to be honest. So 2023, I read 150 books, which is a nice tick. We achieved it, but we didn't overachieve by too much, so well done me. Then goal number 2 is a little bit more difficult. Goal number 2, I was going for TBR Zero, so that basically means all the books on my physical to read shelf read. So basically all the books on my shelves read. At the start of 2023, I had 17 books on my shelf, and I wanted to get to 0. I didn't make it quite, but I now have 4 books on my TBR shelf, which isn't too bad. And also, like, every single one of these is a book that I obtained in the last 6 months or even more recently. Like this one I got from a book fair. This one I got from a free little library. Actually, this one is also a free little library. And then this one I got for $2, according to the front of it, from a bookshop. So they're all very recent books that I got, and I think I can finish them off soon. And really, let's be honest, TBR Zero is not particularly like sustainable goal. It's kind of something I wanted to get to and then decide where to go to from there when my TBR is no longer so overwhelming. And what I more kind of want is to be able to like always be on top of my TBR, and like books that I pick up, I want to be reading them sometime in the near future. So I think as long as I'm reading books within the next 6 months, we should be okay. And so I don't feel that bad about having 4 books left over. I still think I made pretty good progress on this one, and I kind of think I can tick it off as done, even though I'm going to put it as a goal for next year. I probably should admit that that's kind of a lie, like saying that I have 4 books left, because I have never been counting books from series that I had on my shelf where it was a series I hadn't started yet. I'm going to be dealing with that in 2024, so put that aside. Don't worry about it for now. I never intended to get to those this year. But goal number 3 is actually series 0. So what I did want to get to in terms of series is to catch up on all the series I had in progress, so that then I felt okay about starting those new series that I had on my shelf. So what I've written down on my notes here is that I had 48 series on my list, excluding the Stormlight Archives, because I knew I was planning a big Cosmere reread, and I knew I just wouldn't get to finishing off the Stormlight Archives. So now, a year later, I did not get to series 0, but I think also I knew that was an overly ambitious goal, and I just wanted to get as close as I could. So where we are at now is I have 13 series where there's more books that I need to read. There's actually more series that I have in progress, but the next books haven't been released. But 13 books where there are more books that have been released that I could read to continue these series or complete these series. So that's come down significantly from 48. As well, I pretty much have a plan to finish off 7 of those in the next couple of months, like in the first quarter of 2024. So that means there's only 4 of those. One is the Stormlight Archives, one is the First Law World, which I only started in 2023, but was like part of a read-along, and so I'm kind of, like, I probably could have finished that series, maybe, if I hadn't been trying to just follow along with the read-along. Oh, actually, I just looked at my note. I think there's only 3. So the only other third one is The Promised Neverland, which I also started in 2023. I shouldn't have started it. I did tell myself I wasn't going to start any new series, but then I was reading graphic novels. I picked it up. It's a 20-book series. Again, maybe I could have finished it, except for my library's hold lists, like on that series, are just so long at certain points in the series, so I haven't got through it. I've got quite a lot of books to read for that one, but I should be able to get through it, you know, whenever my library allows me to. And the rest, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This maths does not work. Why am I so bad at maths? Oh yes, it does work. I'm just really bad at maths. right now, apparently. Let me clarify. 2, I just have one more book to read. 7, the books have been recently released and I just have one to read. And then Stormlight Archives, First Law World, Promised Neverland, and then also Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians, where I need to reread the first one and then just blast through the whole series. I plan to put aside a week to just try and do the whole thing. I don't know if that's going to work out, but anyway, that's all part of my 2024 goals. The fact is, I didn't quite make it, but I'm not far off it. And I did get 35 series off the list, so that's super good progress, and I totally count that one as a win as well. Then goal number 4 was I wanted to create what I was calling a diversity pipeline. So I would like to be reading authors from more diverse backgrounds, just so that my reading is better in lots of ways. I could go into the details of what better means, but basically it'll make my reading better, and it's also something that I want to support, even though I am not where I would like to be. I think my goal really was to try and have less than 70% white or European authors, just because I haven't gotten below 70% yet. I think in New Zealand there's about 62% last time I checked, white or European people in the country, so I feel like that's what I should actually be targeting, but let's get to 70 first. And I also knew I would do really badly at getting that percentage in 2023 because I was going to focus on finishing off so many series which I knew were by white and European authors, a lot of white males, but also even the women authors that I was reading from, I knew a lot of them were white Europeans. So what I wanted to focus on instead, and I think this is just a better approach overall, is seeding my TBR with these more diverse authors. So taking the time to look more broadly, kind of beyond where I normally would look for books. And it's really hard to tell how successful I was with this. So I will say, I think I got about 71% white or European authors in 2023. So nearly there. Nearly. And hopefully by seeding my 2024 TBR with more authors of color, we'll do better again in 2024. The main thing that I have done to plan my 2024 reading so far is just create a bunch of series that I want to start in 2024 when I finally caught up on all the ones I already had in progress. When I'm allowed to start new ones, I want to get together a list of ones that I'm super excited to read. And so when I was putting together that list of series, I took that little bit of effort to try and make sure there was some diversity in the books that I was picking there. So I guess the results of this are yet to be seen, but we'll see how we do in 2024. And I do think this is something that's worth continuing anyway. Then we had goal number 5, where I wanted to do a bit of a ratings reset. I had found previous to that I felt like a lot of my ratings were really inconsistent. I would give a book 3 stars, that sometimes I would give a similar book 4 stars, or maybe a similar book 2 stars. And when you're giving 2-star and 4 stars to books that are actually pretty similar, what is even happening? So I did do a video at the start of 2023 where I basically reset my rating system, and I set up a mirror board to rate things relatively. So whenever I finish a book, I go onto the mirror board and I place it against the other books that I've rated that year, and then I can see how my rating's consistent. And I also tried to kind of change the scale a bit so that in general, books that I'm enjoying are getting a higher rating, because sometimes books I was enjoying, I was giving a 3-star, and there's just so little a difference between 3 stars and 5 stars. So I've kind of pushed everything up, and then I've got more to work with when it comes to rating bad books, so I can really tell the difference between a book that I just kind of didn't like, but maybe I think it's still a good book, just not for me, versus a book that I absolutely hated and I think deserves to go in the bin, Anyway, I'll link that video if you want to check that out. But I do think I feel a lot more confident about my ratings from 2023. I feel like they seem more consistent, and as well I did give out more 5 stars and more 4 stars in 2023 compared to the year before, so I think I achieved kind of that part of the goal as well. So another goal I think I was successful at. Then the last 2 goals that I put on my list were more about how I'm reading. So firstly, I wanted to always be reading an hour before bed, and I said in that video that I needed to find a way to track whether I was doing it or not. And did I actually do that? No, I didn't. So I can't categorically say that I did this. However, I do know I kind of did it a little bit. So actually, about halfway through the year, my boyfriend moved in with me, and You wouldn't think that that would help, but it did. Because previously I used to just like be doing stuff in the evenings, and it was really easy to get distracted and end up going to bed really late. And then even if I would try to read before bed, I would end up falling asleep like after a page or two because it was just too late. Whereas now we have a bit more of a routine. I'm less likely in the evenings to be like sucked into some kind of computer task, and I tend to just go to bed around the same time and then have time to read. So it's actually worked out recently. I usually get maybe not an hour, but usually a decent amount of reading before bed. And that's not just helpful for like getting more reading done, because I don't know if I've really gotten more reading done as a result of it. What it does mean is generally if I read before bed, I sleep so much better. So it's totally worth it for that. Even if sometimes you get some weird dreams as a result, but I still think it's worth it. And then my last reading goal was about going on audiobook walks. So I wanted to be going every day for at least an hour walk. And while I go for my walk to read my audiobook, the idea being that that would help me get through a lot of audiobooks, but also get me out in the fresh air going for walks. But this one didn't get helped by the boy moving in with me, because even though we do now go for a walk every day, so I'm still doing the whole walking thing, because we're walking together, I can't listen to my audiobook. Instead we're talking, you know? And that's fine, because that's what I want to be doing, but it does mean that I listen to a lot less audiobooks this year, which definitely came up in my stats video that I did the other day. And I see in my goals video, I actually had a goal of getting to 1,200 hours. I don't know what the maths behind that was, but I had a goal of listening to 1,200 hours of audiobooks. And in actuality, I only did 829. So that goal would be a fail. However, I don't know. I'm not that mad about it. I will say though also, usually now instead I go for a run every 2 or 3 days, and I will listen to my audiobooks during my run. So I'm still getting through enough audiobooks. I'm still getting that audiobook time, as well as like, I love my runs now. I never thought I would be someone that loves runs, but here we are. So that is all my reading goals for 2023. I think I can say 4 of the 7 I definitely completed. 2 I think I made progress on, and then just that audiobook one is the one we failed, but we're not mad about it. So overall, I think that is pretty successful, which is a weird thing to say because I don't actually feel like I had the best reading year last year. So that is a thought that I want to take into my 2024 reading goals for sure. Anyway, let me know how you went with your reading goals last year, and just in general, do you think you had a good reading year? I don't know what that means. I think it's more of a feeling, but let me know. And do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.